Dear people of Amazonia, my fellow brave warriors of our liberation movement, accept liberation greetings from me, Comrade John Akuro, this Monday, the 18th of November, 2024. I'm delighted to be once more on the set, on this platform. So we have, another very important conversation together. I must apologize that lately it's really not been easy for me. I really have faced quite some personal challenges, and that's why I've not been so regular as I've generally planned to be. But I suppose by the grace of God, say by the grace of God, I'm going to, be more available because there are a lot of things happening. So much is unfolding at this point in time, and we need to continue to share information among ourselves, to sensitize ourselves, to educate and mobilize ourselves in view of the big challenges that are right before us. So, and I want to take this opportunity to sincerely thank all of you who continue to check on me. I should say I'm really, really humbled because we are in an era where a lot of the times people are excited to see failure, to exercise malice. People are excited to see that we are crumbling rather than trying to lift us. So, I'm really, really happy because we really have to be each other's keeper. We say in this struggle always, this liberation movement always, that it is all for one and one for all, and this is what it's supposed to be. So thank you so much. I've received messages, voice notes, calls, and everything from a lot of people that I've not that I don't know, that I've never met. And in fact, like I say, I'm really, really moved. Thank you so much for that show of care and concern. That said, my people, we are continually gradually getting to that very important turning point in our liberation movement. I've always said here that a time will come when we ourselves will be surprised by the turn of events. And I always said the biggest thing we needed to do is to continue to prepare. And trust me, folks, we are making a lot of progress by day and by night. Sometimes we prefer to continue seeing but the challenges before us, and it may blind us to the big strides that we are making. This is why I would like to say always that every single moment we must make it a duty to celebrate our little milestones. That's why I'm sharing this thought that even after everything you have been through, you are still here. You should be so proud of how far you have come. So, if after this about 8 years and counting that we have been in this liberation movement, some expecting that that freedom was to be the next day, some hoping it's going to be tomorrow, and we are still here, still fighting, still hoping, and you haven't stepped back, you haven't changed camps, you haven't sold out, you haven't gone discouraged, then you definitely must be so proud of just how far you have come. Even those who backtracked, those who got tired along the way, and who are coming back, you must be very proud of yourself, of just how far we have come together. We must make it a point of duty as Ambazonians to celebrate every single milestone because this is something that I've observed. You see, you get up in the morning, you hear that our self defense volunteers have demonstrated bravery, and maybe some 4 5 soldiers of La République du Cameroun have fallen as a result of that. You are excited. The next minute, you have forgotten. La République du Cameroun comes and says, "Oh, we were in Chomba yesterday and we killed General X, General D, General F." And La République du Cameroun will take that one and fly with it. It will be on every forum. You will find all the CPDM apparatchiks and all those who are among us but hate us. You find them sharing it everywhere, saying, "Oh, that struggle is there," but they forget that just 5 days behind, 5 well-trained soldiers of La République du Cameroun had fallen. So while La République du Cameroun recognized the need to celebrate the fall of even just one Ambazonian self-defense volunteer, untrained young men who decided to rise up to the occasion, to defend homeland, to fight for posterity, to fight for a common future that we all are looking forward to. When one of them falls, come and see how La République will be celebrating. But one La République soldier, in the real parlance of things, should be equal to about 150 or 200 of those boys. Why? Because these are people on whom a lot of taxpayers' money has been spent in training. We don't see that. This is just one of many things that I will point out. We must be quick to celebrate all of this. You find some lost soul on the international scene gets up and says, oh, the people of Ambazonia, they should just forget independence is far-fetched, all they can do. La République will vehicle that. They will sing it even on CRTV, they will send it everywhere. But you have people with great international stamina and recognition. They speak for Ambazonia, they say Ambazonia will come to pass. It's just a matter of time. We don't carry it and run away with it. We allow La Republic people who still come back and start saying, who is that person? What does he represent? Sometimes we erroneously, if we join and say, what did this person do for us when he was in a place where he could do? These are all mistakes. We must learn to celebrate little victories so that we continue to charge towards the bigger ones. This is a lesson that we must learn in this liberation movement. If we don't, take note. The psychological warfare is far stronger sometimes than the armed warfare on the ground. Because when you win the psychological warfare, you keep the morale of your people intact and they know that we are getting there. But if you allow the morale to be broken, you are losing. Not because you are losing on the ground, but because you are losing that moral support that is necessary to keep buoying the ship. So this is something we must learn. So that's why I say we must learn to celebrate our milestones. My dear people of Ambazonia, that said, I want us to recognize one thing. While sometimes we ourselves, we don't pay a lot of attention to the things that should matter for us. We spend time throwing tantrums at each other or whatnot. We have friends on the international scene who are crying, who are weeping for us every day, who are motivating us on a daily basis, who have become even more committed to our cause than us. Sometimes, instead of recognizing this, instead of making them know that we're excited that they have bought our cause and they are fighting side by side us, especially at the level of that very important psychological warfare, we tend to rather question motives rather than appreciating what is clear so clearly before us as an advantage. Just take a look at this. When Mr. Tibor Nagy, the former US Undersecretary at the Bureau of African Affairs at the US State Department, Mr. Tibor Nagy, when he came up with this tweet, he said, if President Trump selects certain people whose names have come up for high-level posts, the Yaoundé regime will gain more pressure over its mistreatment of its Anglophone population. Cameroon government has gotten a relatively free ride with Biden. Hopefully that will change. A tweet like this one should rather attract all of us to come in and not only retweet, but do quote retweets, carrying the message and running away with it. Because Mr. Tibor Nagy has proven beyond reasonable doubt that he is a friend of the suffering masses of the southern Cameroons. Not just a friend like that, not just a common friend. Let us not forget, Mr. Tibonagi worked as Deputy Ambassador of the United States of America to Cameroon in Yaoundé, where he had the opportunity to leave the plight of the people of the former UN Trust Territory of British Southern Cameroons, aka Ambazonian. He had the opportunity to visit the Southern Cameroons, to touch the realities, exchange with people, saw for himself what our people have been going through. This is why he has made a personal commitment to serve, to accompany our liberation movement all the way to its logical conclusion. Don't forget that there are people with his stature who will require that we get into a formal contract with them, spend hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, so that they put their personality to the service of our movement. Mr. Tibonagi, sometimes I want to call him Brother Tibonagi, is doing this of his own volition because of the love that he developed for the people, the peace-loving people of the Southern Cameroons while he served in Yaoundé. Because of the concern he has for the suffering masses. Because of his desire to see justice restored, to see justice exercised in these circumstances. This calls not just for admiration, this should call for gratitude in whatever way we can show it. But the one way he has wanted us all this while to show gratitude for his commitment to accompany us in this journey to freedom has been to see us work in synergy. How do those calls ring in our ears? I was pleased also to see this other tweet that came on the heels of the first one I just broadcast. Because in the first tweet, he said, if President-elect Donald Trump were to go ahead and materialize the thoughts that he was having to appoint some people whose names were vacant before him, if it were to happen, that would be good news for Southern Cameroons. And a few days after it happened, that's when he came to say, delighted President Trump will nominate Senator Rubio for U.S. Secretary of State. And he goes on, when I was Assistant Secretary of State, Rubio was among very few members of Congress showing great interest in justice for Southern Cameroonians. Now, he now talks to Ambazonians. Now, he says Ambazonians now need unity more than ever before for Ambazonians to make their case. My dear brothers, my dear sisters of Ambazonia, what do you expect from a friend? Who do you call a friend? A friend is that one who, when they are sleeping, their thoughts about you are thoughts of prosperity. Their thoughts about you are thoughts of good health. Their thoughts about you are thoughts of success. Their thoughts about you are thoughts of goodness. That is what you want in a friend. But when these messages came ringing loud, what did they do? They rather invoked in us those old demons that I've always talked about and condemned. Every time opportunity shows itself, this ugly demon doesn't hesitate a moment to show up. It didn't take time. Look here. You see that post. This post is from Martin Mungwa. This is Dr. Martin Mungwa. Martin Mungwa is of one of the IG factions, particularly the Sako IG faction. You see what Mr. Mungwa is saying in that post. That post is too problematic. Problematic from the viewpoint that it doesn't come in to hail, it doesn't come in to acclaim, it doesn't come in to support, it doesn't come in to act as a kind of welcome to this show of goodwill. On the contrary, it says, Ambazonia is ready to govern itself. We have a strong government, and all the others are just groups clamoring for notice. President Sako is a legitimate man and has the blessing of 90% of the population. He gives orders on home front and does the resistance against Bia. Now, you look at that. When I saw this, first of all, isolated, I said, but why would someone go to put this kind of... This is not the kind of response, because Mr. Tibonagi says this is time more than ever before. He says Ambazonians now need unity more than ever before to make their case. And our response is that forget about that talk of unity. We don't need it. Every other person apart from me are noisemakers. Don't consider them. They don't exist. Look, if you want to see it better, this is how it came up on social media. That's how it came up on Twitter. So you have Mr. Tibonagi tweeting to say, delighted President Trump will nominate Senator Rubio for U.S. Secretary of State. When I was Assistant Secretary, Rubio was among very few members of Congress showing great interest in justice for Southern Cameroonians, Ambazonians. Now, he says, now need unity more than ever for Ambazonians to make their case. And immediately, Mr. Mungwa comes under to tell him that talk about unity, forget. We already have a government. Any other person is noisemaker. This is the same illness that we have been facing. This is the same illness that we have been fighting lately to overcome. But these old demons, they just hang there, waiting for any opportunity to come up so that they manifest and tell us not so fast. Look, as if that was not enough, you had yet another one. This one calls himself Nelson Ashondu. He came and replying to Mr. Tibonagi still. He said, sir, with due respect, you know Ambazonia has a president, and he is President Samuel Sako Ikome. Americans should learn to respect other nations and their presidents. Where are your democratic values? Are all Americans united? My dear people, look, I'm saying, if this is not witchcraft, somebody should tell me what this is. I say, if this is not witchcraft, somebody should tell me what it is. Because Mr. Tibonagi doesn't have children in the southern Cameroons that are being killed. Doesn't have family members who are being deprived every day. Doesn't have wives, sisters that are being raped in Ambazonia every day. We have. He's crying for our plight. And all you get is insult. Look, he did something. Mr. Tibonagi did something that shocked me. As you see in the reply, he came back. Because often, he really doesn't bother about some of these things, but he came back and responded. Of course, because he said, are all Americans united? Americans are not facing invasion. Americans at this point in time are not under colonial rule. They are not facing annihilation from an occupation force. No, they are not facing torture from some inhuman bodies from somewhere. Americans are simply having competing ideas about how to govern their country, how to continue to move their country forward. So Mr. Tibonagi responds, as you see there, of course not. But we do have one government, one, What an answer. But we do have one government. Look on the internet for Ambazonian government and see how many come up and how many people will say what you did about their leader. That's how many people will tell you exactly what you said about Sako, that they will tell you about their own leader. If Ambazonians are going to succeed, that has to end. If not, this discussion will go on and on and on. Folks, it is only a friend in need, indeed, that will come out plain to tell you this raw truth straight in your face. This is why I say here, my people of Ambazonia, we must learn to love ourselves. We must learn to look after each other. We must learn to recognize that when national interest is at stake, we must drop aside all our petty grievances. We must drop aside all our selfish interests. We are yet to really have our country back. This is not the time for us to be talking governance. Sometimes I've said on this platform with a lot of risk that this whole notion of government is the albatross that has bedeviled our liberation movement. Because anytime opportunity comes, these are the things that come to the table. And you see this voice, this strong voice from afar. Because Mr. Tibonagi is clear here. He says, claim Americans are divided. Yes, they are not united, but they do have one government. And he puts it straight, lands it straight on our faces. Look on the internet for Ambazonian government and see how many will come up. Is it a lie? He says, and how many people will say what you did about their leader? Of course. People will come to talk about IG Marienta. They will tell you she is the only president that we have. They will come to tell you about IG Chris Anu. He is the only president that we have. They will come to talk to you about IG Sitikwa Yuktabe. He is the only president that we have. They will come to talk to you about IG X, IG up, IG down. Leave those ones. They will talk to you about the groups. AGOFC will tell you Comrade Chuayaba is the indisputable and only leader of this liberation movement. Other will tell you Comrade Akwanga is the only one that should talk. Of course, the other day, he was on the air himself and said everyone should just fall behind him. Of course, it's normal. Everyone should. This is what it is. Everyone will come and talk. Of course, the ACSU will come and tell you Comrade Priso should be the only leader. Don't even forget about myself. I'm not discounting myself. But I've never made such claims because that is not a claim that makes sense to me. But what I'm saying is you will have all of this cacophony. That is what they're talking about. That we must be able to overcome this challenge if we really have to make things work. And you can see for yourself that confused, overwhelmed with the weight of what Mr. Tibonagi said. That's how Comrade Mark Barra had to come on that and said, we are going to organize our communities as soon as possible and we will get to work. We are hoping you will be our ally now and in a future Federal Republic of Ambazonia. We have no time to waste. Unity is a must. Thanks. That is what we need to be saying. But trust me, make no mistake to think that I am saying that the problem is only on one side. Because it doesn't end there. Look at, like I said, the old demons, they don't give up. That's why you see this other tweet, this other a tweet that I've just displayed there. Is there too on social media? Go check it out. You will find that while you are still in this conversation and all of that, someone shoots out from nowhere, hits this thing in the air and says, you see these people that are up here? Because it says, these people that you are seeing on this picture, these are, let me read exactly what they have there, because they're saying there, those who buy La République du Cameroun narrative, that Ambazonians are divided. That's what you are seeing there. The Ambazonians are divided. They don't know who to talk to. Above is the Southern Cameroon's government and President Sako, and below are La République du Cameroun sponsored individuals who claim to be leaders, impostors. There is a clear difference between a government and La République du Cameroun process. So, This kind of thing is La République du Cameroon's bidding that we continue to do by day and by night. Because this issue of name calling, listen, folks, sometimes I say it because that is how I was trained to do, to say it as it is, as I see it. I've said this thing too often that all these things that you see, sometimes either you are actually a La République du Cameroun agent planted in our midst with the sole mission of making sure we never ever have synergy, or you are a useful idiot in the hands of La République du Cameroun. Because La République du Cameroun likes this name calling. That's why sometimes you see some of them will even use voices and impersonate as if it's some of them talking and claim that, oh, me and Bamkwi, I'm working with Chris Anu. I'm Bamkwi, I'm working with Comrade Cho Ayaba. I'm Bamkwi, oh, come on, Comrade, this one is my person, we are doing this. Because they know when they do, it sets confusion in our midst. It sows doubt. It sows suspicion. It sows division. Like I said earlier, make no mistake, it's on both ends. While we are still grappling with why this thing should be coming from the Sako group to muddy the waters at the time that we should be trying to come together. Of course, there are also some comrades under the banner of consultative committee who even called the meeting Saturday, where I understand they had about 66 people in attendance to talk about the need for synergy and unity. But at the same time that you're still trying to applaud that initiative, some come again too from their mates, like Comrade Chris Anu. And you have this one now blasted here. Because when we have these things coming from both ends, what it does is it muddies the waters for us. Is it begins to make our ability to come together complicated. Because say, who cursed Ambazonia with Samuel Sako? A classic case of chickens coming home to roost. When you look at this one, it's coming from ABS Africa and obviously from Comrade Chris Anu's platform. Now, you look at this. It's not coming just from one end. It's coming from across the board. We all, as a people, the people of the Southern Cameroons, aka Ambazonian, we have a lot of work to do. If you are a Southern Cameroonian, if you are an Ambazonian, and you are concerned that these things are happening, and you happen to belong to any of these chapels, be it to the Sako-led IG, or to the Chris Anu-led IG, or to whichever faction of our liberation movement, you should call your leader to order and tell them this is not the time for bickering. We have done this for over 5 years now. We should be getting tired of it. We should begin to recognize that not a single entity alone in our liberation movement can do this thing alone. When the black people were fighting for the civil rights movement in the United States of America, people were fighting from the angles and coming. Martin Luther King Jr., the late venerated Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had an option he took. Peaceful resistance with people getting into the streets every other day. Malcolm X had his own approach. He said violence begets violence. Other quarters, there are several other quarters. Same thing with South Africa. In South Africa, where the resistance was on, Nelson Mandela was, let's take the peaceful approach. There was the Inkatha movement. There were people, all other chapels were fighting, with different approaches. But at the core of it all, they recognized there was a common enemy. The common enemy was that one that they were fighting against. The common enemy were the agents of torture, the agents of segregation, the agents of hate, the agents of apartheid, the agents of division. It was virtue struggling to defeat vice. In our case, we should recognize we have a common enemy here. And that common enemy is the colonizer, is the occupier from La République du Cameroun. When opportunity shows its head, it is incumbent on all of us to keep aside our grievances. My dear people of Ambazonia, sometimes when I speak, I get passionate because a lot of folks, and let me say this, I receive the arrows, the stones, and the rocks. A lot of folks based in the diaspora, involved in this liberation movement today, who will not see eyeball to eyeball with any other one, who are claiming now to be the Alpha and the Omega, they don't have the least idea how people from various trade unions, various civil society organizations on ground zero came together to birth the consortium and have only three people prominent to lead the movement that generated this phase of our liberation movement in which we find ourselves. Selflessness was the order of the day. There are too many actors that are not known, who will never even be known. Few people even knew that I myself was involved on ground zero, because we were all committed to one thing: achieving freedom for the people. Too many people fought behind the scenes and are still fighting behind the scenes until today, not seeking glory even for 1 second. All the movements that came together to build the constitution these were trade unions, these were civil society organizations with huge memberships. But when the people came together, it was easy to identify 3 people to place ahead as be the ones to speak for us. They were not even the leaders of the most populous of the organizations. They might not even have been the most charismatic, but they had demonstrated the willingness to stick out their heads, and every other person decided to fall behind them. This is what we need at this point in time. This is what is lacking for us right now. And that is why it is important for us to heed the advice that is coming to us from friends, sympathizers, supporters, admirers from across the globe. If you ask me who I would like to listen to, who I would like to take advice from, who I would like to take criticism from, this will be my response. Some of the best advice have been given. Don't take criticism from people you will never go to for advice. Does it sink well? Don't take criticism from people you will never go to for advice. I will take criticism from Honorable Tibonagi. I will take criticism from Mr. Tibonagi from 1st to 31st, because I can run to him for advice. Because he has demonstrated beyond reasonable doubt that he is available to assist us with his own world of knowledge. Anytime we have gone knocking at his door, those are the kind of people I take criticism from. That is why I take his criticism seriously. That is why when he says, you either do this or you do that, I tend to look at it, I tend to sleep on it, I tend to digest it, I tend to dissect it, and I tend to pay attention to it, and I want to take action based on that. Because I know that criticism is coming from the positive side of his mind. That it is criticism that is coming with the view to build, not with the view to destroy. My people of Ambazonia, we must wake up from our slumber and face the reality. This show is just beginning. If you are still watching, hang on. If you are just coming in, settle down. Share the link as much as you can, because we are now taking a very short break and we will move into a very decisive part of our conversation. I started this conversation by noting that as Ambazonians, we must be ready to celebrate even the little victories that we get. We must be ready to celebrate milestones as they come. Because we are giving La République du Cameroun enormous trouble. Look here. When our Lord Jesus Christ cursed a fig tree, when he cursed a tree, that tree was still standing there, it was green. But the leaves fresh, it was green. When he cursed it, something happened to it. The roots, the taproot died. And it was a matter of days. The tree started drying off gradually until it died. It died the moment the taproot was cut. You look at La République du Cameroun, we have not only dented, we have literally cut the taproot of La République du Cameroun. And La République du Cameroun is withering every day. That is why every day God has created, they want to dangle a mirage before us. They want to dangle an image of resiliency before us. They want to dangle an image of we are okay, we are doing just fine, we are very strong, this thing can go on for the next 50 years, nothing is going to happen to us. Hell no, that is not the truth. The reality on the ground is we have put La République du Cameroun in such a situation that they are withering by the day. La République du Cameroun is unraveling. Every day God has created. That is why you see that from 2016 to this day, La République du Cameroun has been on a backward trend. The people of La République du Cameroun have been having only worsening conditions on a daily basis. There has not been a moment since 2016 that there has been any positive announcement to the people of La République du Cameroun. It will either be news that salaries are being reduced because things are not going, or it will be news that they are raising the price of a fiscal stamp. When we started this struggle, a fiscal stamp in La République du Cameroun cost 500. Today is 1,500. I don't know if it's already got to 2,000. Maybe January will get to 2,000. When we started this liberation movement, a liter of gas in La République du Cameroun was around 500 plus CFA. Today, it's already at 850. When we started this liberation movement, the roads in most cities of La République du Cameroun were not as horrible as they are now. When this liberation movement started, I bet you the cost of producing an international passport was not where it is today. Today it's at 110,000 or more. But it used to be, I think it was 75,000 or even less. My people of Ambazonia, by day and by night, things are going worse. By 2016, mobile money did not attract a charge. Today, there are serious taxes on mobile money transfers. Telecommunication was not as costful as it is today in La République du Cameroun. Right now, it is just horrible. You take 1 gigabyte of data, you don't have 5 hours, it's gone. You start asking yourself, well, what has happened? You don't know what has drained it. They use all kinds of tactics to collect money from the people. The level of unemployment in La République du Cameroun was not at this point. Today is worse. Go on the poverty index. The poverty rate in La République du Cameroun has almost quadrupled. Check it out. You notice that a lot of businesses have simply closed down in La République du Cameroun because they are suffocating. My people of Ambazonia, all of this because of the power of our determination. All of this because of the resiliency of the people of Ambazonia. La République du Cameroun used to make a lot of money from our territory. Today, they are spending a lot of money to maintain themselves on our territory. The cost of occupation has become very unbearable. And now, 2025 promises to be hell for them. It has just started, as you're going to see right ahead. It has just started. Prior to 2017, if you said B somewhere like Republic of Cameroon, people will run and put themselves under gutters. They were the most dreaded. There was a myth of invincibility around them. Today, anybody can catch them and flog them anywhere because in the southern Cameroons, in Ambazonia, they were demystified, crushed in their numbers. La République du Cameroon has reached that point where they themselves are now sitting down, their citizens are now sitting down and doubting their ability to continue to maintain the occupation of our land. These are milestones. Milestones we must celebrate. And so, like I said a while ago, listen, 2025 is already announcing even worse colors. I said it here before, that citizens of La République du Cameroon will get to that place where they will take their tongues and eat the dust because of their occupation in Ambazonia. Look at what is coming up. It's been taxes, more taxes, ever more taxes. Taxes. They'll turn around and say we have revalorized salaries by 5,000 or by 5%. Just the price of gas takes it all. Life has become so unbearable. A 50 kilogram bag of rice that used to cost 28,000 or whatever, or 18,000, today sells at 45,000, 50,000, 60,000 in some localities. Now, look at this. With effect from January 2025, civil servants, or in short, all workers in La République du Cameroon are going to have a salary cut. They are not announcing it as a salary cut, but indeed it is a salary cut. You see what I'm sharing on my screen. That is part of the law, the finance law, that has been voted or is being voted at the National Assembly of La République du Cameroon as we speak. It says they are instituting, like you see, they say titre 4 des taxes et redevances communales, de la taxe de développement local. This is something now they're calling this one local development tax. So they're saying, il est institué au profit des communes une taxe communale appelée taxe de développement communal. Cette taxe est perçue, that is, they're instituting what they call a local development tax. And they say this tax, they say cette taxe est perçue en contrepartie des services de base et des prestations rendues aux populations. That this tax is being imposed to pay for services that the people are getting. They say éclairage public, that's public lighting, whether you're having public lighting in your area or not. There are too many localities without public lighting, but you pay for public lighting. Assainissement, that is cleaning up and everything. Enlèvement des ordures, that is garbage collection and everything. Fonctionnement des ambulances, that's for the functioning of those hospital ambulances. Adduction d'eau et l'électrification, water and electricity. So they say this new tax that they are calling local development tax is to pay for these amenities that people get at local level. But wait a minute. This is because the government of Cameroon no longer has money. Because if it is truly local development tax, it should be collected by the local councils directly within the framework of what is called decentralization. Hell no, that's not what it is. I'm sure we all know about a certain myth called audiovisual tax or CRTV tax, which, if you tend to see how much is collected monthly, is several billions. But at CRTV, they don't have equipment because only a fraction of this money goes to CRTV. The government actually needs it to finance itself because they don't have means. That's why lately, CRTV Shandongo announced that they could not broadcast a match of the Indomitable Lions playing in Douala because they had challenges, equipment breakdown, and no resources to maintain their equipment. But the people are paying an audiovisual tax, or call it a CRTV tax, which is a lot of money on a monthly basis. There is also, again, another tax that's already being collected from the people, still a council tax. And that one is collected straight to FECOM. That money is supposed to get to FACOM. FACOM is supposed to gather all that money and redistribute it to the various councils, either equitably or according to need, to enable the council. Because FACOM is actually called the local council support fund. But that money gets in there is used for something else. And so this tax that I'm talking about today, that's being imposed, and they claim it is local development tax, is because of the pressure that the government of the Republic is facing. They are unable to pay their workers regularly. They know it's going to be so hard in 2025 because the IMF is putting pressure on the Republic of Cameroon to completely remove the last financial support, or you should call it subsidy, in the fuel sector, so that the people pay exactly what the cost is. Right now, a liter is 850 francs. The IMF envisages that La République du Cameroun will have to get the liter of gas up to at least 1,000 francs. That is coming up in fiscal year 2025. La République du Cameroun is still grappling with it. They don't know how to handle that situation. And like I said, this tax is going to hit everyone, because I see some of you texting to say, oh, that is foreign news. No, it's not foreign news. Because this tax will be imposed in Ambazonia. Because this tax will be paid to by southern Cameroonians who are still earning incomes from La République du Cameroun. It will be paid to by southern Cameroonians who are working for the private sector, because even people in the private sector will be forced to pay this tax to La République du Cameroun. As long as they occupy our land, stupid measures that they take in their land will affect people in our land. That is why it is not foreign news. That is why it is relevant. That is why we need to know about this, so that we understand the need to drop our petty, stupid fights, to drop our stupid rivalries, our lousy claims for power. I'm the one in charge, I'm not the one in charge, and all whatnot, and focus on the need to evict these people from our land, so that our people can know peace, so that our people can have good governance, so that our people will be delivered from the hands of some nonagenarians who are making life impossible, who are suffocating our people with their evil policies. So going back to that local development tax, look at how much you're going to pay. If you are a worker in that entity, when you see this barrel that I'm showing here, look at it, you see your salary level, you should already know how much you're going to be paying monthly. So this is how it's going to be cut. They say pour les employeurs du secteur public et privé. So you see, pour les employés du secteur public et privé. So for workers of both the public and private sector, this is exactly what I mean. If your basic income, that is your salary before taxes, not the take home, if your basic income, the salary before taxes, is between 62,000 and 75,000 CFA a month, they are going to be cutting 3,000 CFA francs on your income every month as local tax, as local development tax, which means at the end of the year, you are going to pay 3,000 times 12, that's about 36,000. If your basic salary is between 75,000 and 100,000, you'll be paying 6,000 francs every month. I mean 6,000 every month. If your basic salary is between 100,000 and 125,000, you'll be paying 9,000 francs every month. I'd like you to pay careful attention. Don't think it's foreign news, it's going to affect you. You who are working with is it Midenor, it will affect you. You who are working with the Derudep, it will affect you. You who are working with which other private entities, even with Schumas, it's private sector, it will affect you. You who are working with a credit union, it will affect you. You will pay this tax. This is something you need to pay attention to. So if your basic income is between 150,000 and 200,000 francs, you will pay a whooping 15,000 francs every month. Take your calculator, calculate the percentage of that on what you earn, and you will see for yourself what hell is coming your way. And the prices of basic commodities are not going to change. They may instead be going up.
why your purchasing power is going down. If your salary is between 200,000, your basic salary, 200,000 and 250,000, you'll be paying 18,000 CFA francs a month. If your basic salary is between 250 and 300,000 francs, you'll be paying a whooping 24,000 francs a month. If your basic salary is between 300,000 and 500,000, you'll be paying 27,000 a month. And if your basic salary is above 500,000, you'll be paying 30,000 francs a month. Now look at something. They just say if your basic salary is above 500,000, you'll be paying 30,000 francs a month. That is an injustice, because the person who earns between 300 and 500,000 and pays 27,000 a month will be paying more than, if you do the percentage, will be paying more than the person whose basic salary is 700,000, is 800,000, is 900,000. And who are those who are at this end? They are the 2% governing class, those who have taken the country hostage. So at the end of the day, always, these taxes are imposed more on the poor people than on the rich ones. This is what it is. This is going to effect in January 2025. We're in November. So 2 months from today, this will be getting into effect. And like I said, the IMF has its fingers on the throat of La République du Cameroun to readjust the cost of a liter of petroleum at the pump. That is why I titled this show Bloody 2025 Approaches. Because it doesn't get better. So my dear people of Ambazonia, when you are unevenly yoked with a people who don't know what it means to stand up for their rights, you may end up looking like them. And that is why quite some of our folks, 1 to 3% of our folks, who have let the ugly system penetrate into them, and they belong to a Dracula club known as CPDM, they are already like them. That is why everything they clap it through. Because even with all of this torture and suffering coming, you see, for Tabetando get up and go into Manu, gather young people who are not eating maybe for 2 or 3 days, bring some from outside with a promise of 2,000, 3,000. They come and gather and say, oh, Paul Biya, whether he even knows that he's still alive or knows where he is, or be our president, be our candidate in 2025. Because while all this is going on, the people who are responsible for that torture are not shaking. Oh yes, look at them. Those are the nonagenarians. Those are the Draculas that are still there and still plan to be there for the next 14, 21, or even not even 30 years. My dear people of Ambazonia, this is why it is important for us to continue to recognize the urgency for us to do the needful at the opportune moment to get these people out of our land, to get these people without a vision out of our land, to get these people without human feelings, who have lost their total sense of humanity, to get them out of our land. It is urgent. Because we want to create a country, we want to birth a country that will function with democratic principle. We want to birth a country full of opportunity, a country with a clear development vision. We want to birth a country that will make use of its best human resources. When I show you these Draculas in La République du Cameroun, look at them there. Paul Biya, Nyat Defendi, President of the Senate. The other one, Cavalier Yeye Nombril, President of the National Assembly. Just on that, see this one who is great and finished until he can't even walk straight. Laurent Esoko, Lorenzo, Minister of Justice. In the middle there, you see this 92-year-old man, Mbangangele, Chief of Police. This one who even collapsed in the in the minor basilica in Mvoye, in La République du Cameroun. This Saturday, that's 2 days ago, Saturday the 16th of November, he even passed out in church and had to be hurried out in an ambulance. He is still the president of the Constitutional Council. Look at those people, and they are hanging on. How will you get development? How will you get change? How will you get better living conditions? How? Their future has long been behind them. But now go to Botswana. See the contrast. That is the president there, that man is 54 years old. That is the minister of energy here. The minister of energy here. You see this young woman, 37 years old. This is the minister of youth affairs here, 26 years old. This is the health minister, 37 years old. These people, their future is still before them. Reason they will do their all because their eyes are still looking ahead. The other people, their eyes are already behind them. These ones, their eyes are behind them. So they can't look ahead. They are looking but at those their wonderful days and wanting to continue to revel just in what they are living in the past. Their eyes are behind them. Meanwhile, these ones, their eyes are ahead, in front of them. The future is still ahead of them. That is why, look a bit on Botswana. Compare that to this moribund, God-forsaken country called La République du Cameroun, and see the Gulf. This is the dream we have of Ambazonia. To birth a country where we put our best human resources in charge. So they will develop a vision for the future. When they will sit and not think all about tomorrow or about today, they will be looking 50 years ahead. What will we be like? My dear people of Ambazonia. Listen, I just talked there about January 2025 coming, already with a serious tax that takes a serious dig into the people's incomes. La République du Cameroun will continue to do this because they know nobody will raise a little finger. Because they know there are no longer people in that country. Because they know the only thing they need to do is make sure soldiers have the best income. Is to make sure soldiers are free to torture anyone, any day, anyhow, and extort the way they want, so that they continue to be pleased with the situation as it is, so that they will continue to work to maintain them in place. That kind of country is not where we belong. We don't have to have anything to do with that kind of country. That is why this comment by Alpha Condé, who was president of Guinea Conakry, speaks to us, Ambazonians. Listen.
Le Cameroun, d'abord, il ne faut pas oublier qu'il y a eu une guerre de libération et qu'on a liquidé l'UPC pour mettre au pouvoir les hommes de paille. Bon, le problème du Cameroun, même le Camerounais doit se poser la question pourquoi il n'y a pas de coup d'État. Et voilà un pays où le président ne tient jamais le conseil des ministres. Il peut faire 6 mois sans conseil des ministres. Il peut faire 2 mois à Genève. La plupart du temps, il est sur son terrain de golf. Donc je pense que le cas du Cameroun, vous savez très bien, c'est que, est-ce que les militaires vont à la retraite au Cameroun? Les militaires jusqu'à 70 ans, ils sont dans l'armée, ils ont tous les avantages, donc ils n'ont pas besoin de faire un coup d'État.
You got that? Okay, for those who don't understand French, you call it enemy language. Alpha Condé is saying, when you look at a country like Cameroon, you wonder why there hasn't been a military coup in that country. Because he is recognizing what he is saying deeply is that that country is a hellhole. That country is hell on earth. I mean, we hell. And any normal thinking human beings would long have overthrown a government that doesn't connect to the realities or to the challenges of the people. How are you saying? That a country where the president has never held a council of ministers for over a decade, where the president can go and stay him in the most expensive hotel in the world in Geneva for 2 months running without bothering. Nobody says a thing. A country which is not governed. Situation, conditions are getting worse by the day. Nobody cares. He said the military, they cannot rise. Why? Because at 70, they are still on post. No retirement. They must continue to be there enjoying their benefits. Like I said earlier, they have all kinds of benefits, even including the benefit of torturing and extorting from the population with impunity. That's why you see them there on the roads, they will stop you on the road and blatantly take your documents, pocket them, you pay 50,000, you pay 100,000. That's why they're in Ambazonia, they will kidnap our people in the name of Kale, go and keep, and be collecting 500,000 francs from each person. Otherwise, they will frame you as a terrorist and all of those things and go scot-free. So why should they organize a coup? Why should they think that they should overthrow the government in that country? They are benefiting from its approach. They are benefiting from its corruption. You can't get yourself yoked to such a nation, yoked to such a people who don't care about the same people they are supposed to be, they are taking the oath to defend. Because the soldiers are paid for the taxpayers' money. Their true boss are the taxpayers, not the president. So their allegiance is supposed to be to the constitution and to the flag, not to some rascals who have constituted themselves and taken the future of the people hostage. We need to separate from such kind of people as fast as we can. We need to eject them out of our land the fastest possible, because we did not belong with them in the first place. We don't belong. And the only way we do it is understand the need to seize the moment. Set aside our greed for vain virtual power. Forge towards synergy. We must stop this mentality of everybody must fall behind me. You are either with me or nothing. It will either be my way or the highway. We have to stop it, and stop it now. If we don't stop it now, opportunity will elude us and we will continue to stay in the wilderness. This is the message I brought here today. And I wish that we all take time to ponder over it. And I wish that we all recognize that we each have a responsibility in what is going on, in the disunity, the division, and the confusion that is going on, in the little demigods that we ourselves have created here and there in the diaspora, and who are now turning to devour the very liberation movement we are all depending on to get freedom. We must recognize our responsibilities. If we, the people, decide to end this nonsense, it will end. If we decide to withdraw our support from all those who deny to work with others, it will end. If we stop sending out lousy audios, calling people names and say all kinds of trash, it will end. If we decide to stop contributing money to individual groups and insist that the people must work together, at least if all the groups are not sinking, let there be some synergy, some unity of purpose. If we don't take measures as such, then we will all continue to have the blood of all those innocent people dying on the ground because they believe in this our liberation movement on our hands. Don't watch me and say that it is some people's responsibility, because I see some people send me messages, call me and say, oh, you people must do everything to bring about synergy. You people who? You too, you are responsible. Make this call to everyone who is concerned, who is in the front lines. This is how we begin by resolving it. Each and every one of us must recognize our responsibility in this and rise to the occasion to end it. Yes, we can do it. We can't just sit back and expect that some miracle will happen. Those kinds of miracles, they scarcely happen these days. We
must see realism, and we must all graduate from that attitude of thinking that it is others who have the responsibility to do it, and we must all do it together. I want to thank all of you who stayed on with me. It was a pleasure being back here, and I'll make an effort to be more regular here so that we continue to exchange together. Sometimes when I don't come, I'm not afraid of the stones and the arrows that come. Those arrows and those stones, they make me stronger. To God be the glory.